and welcome to a new episode of Senior Spot. I am here today with guest Dave Gunsberger, who is the owner of Next Day Access, and I'm really thrilled for Dave to be able to tell us what his company does to help seniors be able to stay more mobile and in their homes. So welcome, Dave.
Thanks for having me, Jen. Glad to be here.
Excellent. So Next Day Access, I mean, that could mean so many things. That could mean a courier service, that could mean a FedEx, a UPS, but you don't drive the big brown truck. You drive a Next Day Access truck. So tell us what Next Day Access is.
Yep, we don't deliver packages. We are a home accessibility and mobility company. So we help people stay at home and remain at home safely and with independence. That's pretty much the goal.
Okay, so how do you make that happen?
Well, the business is there's really three main things we do. We provide ramps, stairlifts, and grab bars to anyone who wants to be at home and be safe.
Okay, so ramps.
Yep.
To be able to get in and out of their homes.
Right. So anytime we talk to a client, the biggest thing is like how do you get in and out of your house? You can be at home and it could be the safest place in the world, but if you can't get in and out of your house, like that's kind of a barrier to your independence.
Good point.
And so that's a big part of what we do. When people call us, they may be leaving from a rehab or recovering from an injury, and they want to be able to get into their house. Say they have 2 steps or 12 steps. Getting into their house is always like a concern for people.
Okay, so it's not a ramp that is, ready-made and one size fits all. It's a ramp that is more, it's more individualized. Like
Right.
You said, 2 steps or 12 steps.
Right, so we use modular ramping. So my company, Next Day Access, is affiliate companies with American Access, which is actually a manufacturer. So we're like a factory direct model. So that's important for people because we can really bring a lot of value to the end user when we do that.
Okay, so rewind and explain that a little bit more because I think that's an interesting feature.
So it's like buying a car direct from Toyota.
Okay.
So I am the manufacturer. Now I'm not actually doing the welding at the plants.
Okay, no, you don't do all that.
I don't do the welding. No one wants me to do welding. But so we are the manufacturer. So my company, like I said, Next Day Access is sibling companies with American Access. So it's all American-made extruded aluminum ramping.
Okay.
And that's really the one of the main focuses of the business is the ramps. And so when someone calls us for a ramp, one of the main concerns is getting the pitch and the angle right. So there's a formula that people use when they're building ramps. Now the commercial formula, the ramps that you're used to, out in public, for every inch to the door, people use a foot of ramp. Now
Interesting.
That's all through the ADA guidelines.
Okay, so that's the ratio.
That's the ratio. So say you have a 24-inch door, like this table, 18 inches. Okay. You would want an 18-foot ramp, or thereabouts.
Okay.
So kind of people call me sometimes and say, I have 8 steps, that's 60 inches to the door, but we want a 12-foot ramp. And I'll tell people you're really people don't ski down slopes that steep. Like that's really steep.
Okay.
If you have 60 inches to the door, you want to be in that about 42-inch ratio. So like I was saying, there's a 1 to 12 is like the ideal. That's the commercial ratio. 1 to 10 is you can still use it. 1 to 8 is still okay if you're trying to save space. But below that 1 to 8, it's really, obviously I'm a big guy, and even if you're pushing someone up that ramp, like it gets.
What's
really
interesting that you just said that is, when you mentioned like a ski, coming down a ski slope, but I didn't even work in the factor that someone is maybe behind the wheelchair and trying to move it forward, and therefore that's part of the challenge too.
And not just that, but when you get to be that steep, people get nervous, like their wheelchairs can be kind of tipping forward and backwards, and they can get real uncomfortable.
Sure.
So that's definitely a part of like the concept. When we come to a house, we bring some chalk with us and flags, and we start laying out the design of the ramp and what makes sense. And just making sure we find the right ramp for the layout, the right ramp for people's budget, the right ramps, because these are expensive items.
Okay.
And we are definitely aware of that, and kind of we're sensitive to that.
But these are clearly custom for each doorway, each accessibility point for someone's home.
Right. So the ramps come in all different sizes, different size ramps, different size platforms. Anytime you want a platform at the door or a level landing, so you try not to have the ramp come right at the door, so you're not at an angle or a pitch like going in and out of your house.
Sure.
You want to be on a level landing.
Okay.
And so we use, I have landings in different sizes and different size ramp sections, and and we kind of configure that, and then we pull them out of the warehouse.
Well, and does it
obviously.
also, do you factor in maybe the type of wheelchair and how much, how much space and the width? And I mean, there's many different types of wheelchairs too.
The ramps are 36 inches wide, so that can accommodate like from a pediatric to bariatric.
Okay.
Each section.
You know what? Explain to our audience what, I know what bariatric is, but explain that, because we do have a population that has increasing obesity, so maybe I just answered it for you.
Yeah,
But go
so
ahead and tell us what that is.
Bariatric is like the clinical term for like an obese patient.
Okay.
So the sections of ramp, each section can hold 1,000 pounds. So I tell people all the time, like, you can pretty much have a party on these ramps, like a cocktail party.
Maybe it would be less expensive than building a deck.
It's always less expensive than building a deck. So when you buy a modular aluminum ramp, it's almost always, a wooden ramp is about 1.5 times more expensive than building a extruded aluminum ramp.
Okay, so maybe we jump to, so what are, besides the cost, what are the benefits of that over a wooden ramp? Because I
Sure.
drive by a lot of homes and I'll see that they might have, a wooden ramp, and so tell us what the advantages are of having aluminum type of ramp.
Well, and a wooden ramp can be very nice. I mean, I think that sometimes people go with a wooden ramp to match the aesthetic of their house,
Sure.
and we totally understand that. The benefits of a modular ramp are that first of all, you don't have to pull a permit in the town.
Okay.
Towns don't consider them permanent structures. They kind of just rest in the ground, so they're not structural in any way. So you don't have to pull a permit. In most towns, there are towns here and there that do require permits, but generally speaking, you don't have to have a permit. They are removable, so a wooden ramp can reduce your price of your house.
Oh, yeah,
Very
the value
deterrent.
of the home.
Absolutely.
Okay.
An aluminum ramp, because they're not permanent, they can come out. With a wooden ramp, you're talking about material costs and labor. With the aluminum ramps, we're in and out in about 4 hours. So
Okay.
really the bulk of the expense is for the material costs. And it's
Versus
really
the labor.
Versus the labor. I mean,
Okay.
with a wooden ramp, you're talking about a couple of guys, maybe 3-4 days. Not to mention, it's hard to build a ramp because there's a lot of cuts. because
Well,
you're doing
and
the
let's
pitch.
just say, there's something to be said for, human error, not on purpose, obviously, but just a mismeasurement in one way or another could make it maybe less safe.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, like I said, building a wooden ramp is actually particularly hard. You need to be a real good carpenter
Right.
to be able to build a wooden ramp, just because there's a lot of cuts and math involved. So this kind of takes off, all that aspect. Wooden ramps need a lot more upkeep. These the ramps we use, they're all extruded aluminum, so they have like an open weave surface. So this is what I stock here in New England. The factory, like I said, American Access, they make a couple different types of ramps. This is what makes a lot more sense for here in New England. When it snows, the sun hits it, it really melts real quick.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it goes right through.
Exactly. So if it's a couple inches, you can just dust it off. If it's 8-10 inches of heavy wet snow, just shovel most of it off. And once the sun warms up the aluminum, it melts real quick.
Okay.
So this is what we find is the most logical product in New England. Plus, it's meant to be very slip resistant.
Okay.
So,
it's interesting because I look at shiny and I always think slippery, but that's not the case here.
Yeah, just because of the the angle of the metal, kind of in either direction.
some
almost
friction.
there's like almost an angle that you're at.
Okay.
And it's just very slip resistant.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's just a real good product.
Okay. So how does someone get started with the process of this? So, give us a scenario of when someone might call you and how you start from beginning to end.
Sure. Well, there's a couple different ways people kind of find me. First of all, we network with lots of rehabs in the area.
Sure.
So if someone's coming out of rehab, a hip replacement, knee replacement, maybe something more unfortunate like a stroke or something, there's a lot of the rehab directors in the area know me, and they'll just give out one of our pamphlets to a family, and they'll call us directly.
Okay.
Also, we have, 2016, we're online nowadays.
Yep.
We
We'll
have
make
Facebook.
sure we'll put on your website at the end and your phone number so that people know how to contact you.
Yep. So people find us that way through some online, Google searches and stuff. We have a contact page on our website. I get contacts all the time through our website. And those are the two main ways that people find us.
Okay, so I give you a call and I say, "Hi, Dave. I'm interested in, getting this for my grandmother. How do we start? What do we do?"
Just this morning. So I got contact information from our website this morning from a nice woman in Woburn. She kind of, we talked for a few minutes, kind of figured out what she wants. Sometimes I can even hop on like Google Earth and like look at the house.
Oh.
And so I'm looking at the house, she's in the house, and I'm looking at the house. It's not as creepy as it sounds, I promise.
No, that's a really helpful feature.
It is
I
helpful.
never would have thought of that.
Side story, house in Portland, Maine the other day, they need a ramp, and it's a far drive, so we did the whole thing on Google Earth. Anyhow, so we talked, we figured out what she was looking for. I gave her a ballpark price. She said, okay, I'm going to talk to my husband. She called me back 20 minutes later. I think let's go ahead with the project. I ran down there, kind of field verified the measurements. We use like laser levels and that kind of thing.
Sure, so it's very exact.
Exactly. And we got her set up. I mean, it was probably 2 hours from the time she reached out to us till the time.
So that's why you get the name Next Day
Next Day
Access. It could
Access.
actually be Same Day Access.
It could be. It has been same day access once in a while.
Well,
yeah.
sure. I
This
mean,
is an
people get into
emergency.
situations where they maybe didn't plan ahead and they think, okay, we're going home, but how do we get in the house?
Absolutely.
And it's not, I mean, we take it for granted.
Yes.
So I think it's not always in someone's,
Absolutely.
checklist to figure that out.
Absolutely. We have some like workers' comp contracts. We work for workers' comp, and someone will be doing an injury at work, and they'll go through the hospital and be at rehab, and before they know it, they're getting discharged, and they haven't thought about that. And workers' comp will get a call on like a Monday morning or a Friday afternoon. This person's coming home Monday morning. What can you do?
The Friday fire drill.
Exactly,
That's-
and it is. And so we'll stop what we're doing sometimes and get it set up Saturday morning.
Yep.
It happens. So yeah, we can be very much next day.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Woburn, that this woman called, today from Woburn.
Yep.
So what areas do you cover? So where's your home base, and then where do you cover?
So the warehouse is in Billerica, but I tell people all the time we cover from North Conway to Northampton to Newport. So
Okay.
really all of New England, or most of New England. It's
All
a
right.
big territory. We recognize that a wheelchair ramp can be an expensive item, and because of that, we spread out and serve like the whole region really.
Okay. So, and you're the owner.
I am the owner.
Okay, excellent. I think that's important to know. As the owner of a company myself, it's important to know who it is that's going in there and making sure that this is, well taken care of. So you brought in the ramp. I love that. Who would know that there'd be a chunk of a ramp to be
Yeah.
able to show as
Yeah.
an example? But I know that you mentioned some other products that are, common things that you do to help people have accessibility inside of their homes. So
Yes.
what else did you bring along with you today?
Okay, so the other thing I brought along with me is a grab bar. Not everyone might need a ramp. Like, we understand that. Grab bars are a little different. They're a much more universal item. A ramp might be inexpensive. This is a much lower cost item. Getting in and out of your bathtub, off of the toilet, something that's can really make a difference.
Okay. So why can't I just go to the hardware store or go to Home Depot or go someplace else and just grab one off the shelf? What's the benefit of
Yep.
using your grab bars?
I had a woman call me yesterday from Needham, an older woman in her early 90s. Okay, she said, my son-in-law in New York bought me some grab bars, and I have 3 grab bars sitting in my kitchen now. Can you install them? And so what I explained to her is, the grab bars we use are all a system. I asked her, ma'am, is it going through tile? What is the grab bars being mounted into? She said it was in tile. So what I told her is that it's not as simple as drilling holes in the tile and hoping we find a stud.
Right.
You have to find the grab bar is a system, and so the way we do it is we drill a little hole through the wall, and we pop. People call these molly bolts. I call them mushroom anchors. We pop this bolt or anchor through the wall, and it holds onto the back of the wall. So when we drill a hole through the tile, if we find a stud, that's great. If not, we use an anchor.
So you don't need one. You don't
do
need to
not
worry
need an
about what's
anchor.
behind the wall.
Yes. And I
Right.
tell people all the time, they will never know that this is being fastened with these anchors. I tell people that if I could do pull-ups, I would be able to do pull-ups on these bars.
Sideways? That'd be really impressive.
Yes, that would be.
So, and the sizes,
Yep.
how many different sizes? And
So when people
uses?
call, we have a truck full of grab bars. They come in 12, 16, 18, 24, 30, 32, 36, 42, and 48 inch sizes.
Okay, so you have a few sizes.
A couple sizes,
Okay.
and we keep them all in stock. And so what we do is they'll say, come on, they'll call us, we'll come down, and we'll we'll go into the house with a tape measure and say, the 12-inch makes sense here, a 32-inch makes sense there, and we'll kind of discuss it with the homeowner, and we'll ask, how tall is the person? Are you 5'1"? Are you 6'1"? Like,
Sure, that makes a big difference.
Right,
That
so-
you might not factor in when you're standing in the aisle in Home Depot and purchasing something.
Absolutely. Grab bars are meant to be mounted. The ADA and building codes say between 33 and 36 inches.
Okay.
Now that's for like the general standard height person. Maybe a woman's 4'10".
Right.
That's you probably want it at 31 or 32 inches, not 33 to 36.
Okay.
So that's something that we're considering when we're putting the
Well, I like
bars
that you
in.
have them in stock, because there's nothing worse than someone coming in and saying, oh, this is what you need, and you say, wonderful. Well, then now I need to order it.
Yeah.
So you have them there to make it actually happen quickly.
Absolutely, and we use knurled grab bars, which this is a diamond cross hatch pattern called knurling. It's used on a lot of tools. It gives it extra grip.
Right.
This is what we stock as opposed to like a satin finish. This is just a product I believe more in this.
Absolutely. I mean,
So-
it's going to be less slip
Less
and
slippery.
more grip.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Less
There
slip
you
and
go.
more grip.
There's your motto.
It
There you
is.
go. I
It
just
really
got
is.
it for you.
And we also stock the grab bars. We stock a 1 1/4 inch diameter as opposed to 1 1/2 inch diameter. It doesn't seem like much, but once you wrap your hands around it, I'm a big guy, like big trucks, big meals, big everything. But even myself, like this is more comfortable to like hold on
Right.
to.
And then the size of my hand, which is
Exactly.
like a kid hand,
A lady's hand,
Right. You
you know.
need to be able to have it, work for both ways. Okay.
Absolutely. So that's why the 1 1/4 knurled grab bar is what we go with.
Sure. All right. Well, I mean, it's interesting because you look at these and you can see just the strength and the stability of these items that you wouldn't necessarily find on your own and wouldn't know what to do.
Right. I mean, like back to what you said earlier. If you go to Home Depot and you just buy a couple bars and put some screws through your tile, like that bar might come right off the wall.
Right. Which is probably even it's less safe than not having one there at all sometimes,
it might be.
because you end up with a fall and you're trying to avoid the fall.
Right. I mean, like a suction cup grab bar, we take them down all the time. Like
Yep.
that suction cup will not hold you up when you really need it.
All right. So now going back to the ramps, because obviously you wouldn't rent a grab bar, but let's talk about, buying versus renting, the ramps and really what the cost is. I mean, I think it's important for people to understand what the cost is associated with these products.
Yep. So a purchase of a ramp can run anywhere between $2,000 and $7,000.
Okay.
It all depends on the size and the layout. People kind of tend to know, I have a lot of steps, this is going to be more expensive, or it's just a ranch and I have 2 steps. Like people kind of tend to have that, that instinct and that,
Is that true? I mean, is that true that, the less steps you have, the less expensive it is?
Typically,
I mean, is there a pattern?
Well, you're trying to, it's like what I talked about earlier, getting to the door. How tall is your door off the ground?
Okay.
So if you have 2 steps, it's probably going to be less expensive than if you have 12 steps.
Got it. Okay.
Or if you have need some wraparound layout rather than a straight layout.
Well, and I'm sure you probably, as you get to the home, you might even recommend a different doorway
Yep.
that they use because maybe it's less expensive or there's easier access once you get into the home.
Yes, and that's a good point. We typically are looking at the door, but we always look at like a whole home kind of approach. We don't typically just say, okay, well, sayonara. Now you're in your home. You're on your own. Like we kind of talk to people. You're getting your home, great. You need grab bars. You need a stair lift, which isn't something we talk about. But we're kind of always concerned with their whole home and not just
Right.
like the one item that we're trying to help
So
them
the
with.
renting versus the buying.
Yes.
Okay.
So the buying, it's about between $2,000 and $7,000. We also offer a buyback program. So
Okay.
say you use it for 60 years and you want to sell it back to us, we offer a buyback program. Depending on the condition, the age of the ramp, we kind of buy it back. Rental is a little different. It's just a formula. It's $10 a foot plus $100 a platform per month.
Okay.
So it could be $300 a month for a 20-foot ramp and a platform. So
Okay.
it's $300 a month, and there's a 2-month minimum plus 1 month equal to for an installation.
Okay.
So that's the formula.
So when you talk about the installation team, so this kind of leads to the next question. So the installation team that you're using, who's doing it for you? Are you just, hiring people to come and work on your crew. So explain how that's like kind of
Yep.
part of your quality assurance.
Sure. So we don't subcontract anything out. It's not like I sold the grab bar, find some guy on Craigslist. Hey, I sold the grab bar. Can you go drill some holes in this guy's tub and put some
Right.
screws and anchors in? I have a couple employees. They're both. One of them is a licensed construction supervisor, and the other one's a home improvement contractor. Been working with them for pretty much since the beginning. And then I'm involved in a lot of the installations myself. So it depends on the day, the location. There's three of us, and we get them all done. So
well, and so it's not just the quality of the work, but it's also people that work for you, because going into someone's home, you want to make sure that you have people that that you feel comfortable working for you in
Absolutely.
someone else's home.
Absolutely. Every single job that I do, like, people are dealing with me and working with me closely. It's not like,
Oh, those poor people! I don't,
Thanks, Jen. It's and people. I mean, people have my cell phone number. People, I'm very available, and I understand that as a small business owner. Like you get it. Like, people want that connection. They want to be able to reach you, and I feel that's kind of my obligation. That it's part of my integrity that I want to be providing people a good job and a good service, and it's important to me.
Excellent. So we didn't talk about stair lifts yet.
Yes.
So let's talk about inside the house besides grab bars. Let's talk about stair lifts.
Okay, stair lifts. Two main categories of stair lifts. Straight stair lifts for a straight staircase. It's pretty straightforward.
Therefore, straight staircase,
Straight staircase, straightforward. They're around $3,000, give or take. It's something I keep in stock. We can come and do it in about a day. Okay. The big takeaway for staircases is if you have even one 90-degree curve in your staircase, that falls into the custom curved category.
Okay.
And it is anything but quick. The way the manufacturers do it, and we're dealers for Harmar, Handicare, and Bruno. And Bruno is really like the go-to brand for people in the industry, people who really know, do spend a lot of time with this stuff. Bruno, American-made, family-owned company, Wisconsin, great company. And so pretty much what you do with a curved stair lift is you come and they look like dominoes. We put them all over the floor. We take about 100 pictures, and we upload these pictures to Bruno, and they use all these little points on the dominoes to build the 3D model of their stairs, and then they design a stair lift for those stairs.
Wow.
It's pretty interesting. It's very involved. And so a custom curved stair lift can start at around $7,500 up to about $15,000.
Right.
So
So word to the wise, build a home with straight staircase.
Absolutely.
None of these fancy staircases.
Absolutely. And we have a lot of split levels here.
Sure. I didn't even think about the split level. I grew up in the split level,
Yep.
and that would be very costly stair lift.
And that's what we will call 180. Sometimes what people do is do two straights as opposed to a
Okay.
bend. The drawback of that is you got to be able to stand up from one.
Right.
and
And the
walk
front door's
over.
there.
And the front door is there, yeah.
That's
So
an obstacle.
some splits have nice big entryways. Some of them are tight. These are all kind of discussion points.
But that's what the customization is for.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so the curved stair lift, if you want a curved stair lift, it's about a 5-week process between doing the pictures and getting the drawings, and so it's not something that can happen overnight.
Okay. And that's because obviously everything, the whole product has to be created.
Totally custom made.
One of a kind.
Yeah, I mean, with the straights, you can take them out of a house, put them in a new house. That curved stair lift, if you want to come out of that house, really, that just becomes an expensive boat anchor.
Interesting. Okay. So even, this straight staircase obviously is the way to go if you're obviously even going to be building a home. Some people are building a one-level home. Other people may not be able to do that, but a straight staircase certainly is.
Yes, I mean, it's
easier
much
way to do
cheaper.
it.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Every family, I tell people this all the time, every family, they have different priorities, different resources. Like, some people have a big sweeping staircase. They want to stay in the home. They don't mind spending.
Sure. Well, right. I mean, when
like-
you weigh the costs of moving from your home and, you have to really decide what your goals and your wishes are long term.
Absolutely. So, I tell people all the time, the stair lifts, the ramps, they're real investments at staying at home. I mean, that's what these are. These are investments at staying at home.
So, I usually start off, and I never did. So how did you even get involved in this business? It's not quite something that you just decide one day, I think I want to do this, and I'm going to own a company named Next Day Access. How did you get involved in this business?
Yeah, this is a very niche industry, and I that's kind of comes up frequently how specific this is. My career before this, I ran DDS, or Department of Developmental Service Programs. I actually have a master's degree in human service and nonprofit management. So I spent years doing like direct care and program management for people with developmental disabilities, but with also physical disabilities. So I kind of saw, like, on the front lines how people were impacted. So that was really my professional experience, and then family experience. We have some rental properties and through my family, and always kind of just hands-on and handy. So this was kind of a real synthesis of those two things, and I kind of, was poking around, kind of what's the next step in my career, and this kind of really hit a chord and struck a chord for me of like what's a logical area for me to move into.
Oh yeah, and who would have guessed that it would have all come together
It
like
has
this?
come, yeah, it has come
it's
together.
Great.
It's been
and things
good.
happen unexpectedly, and
Yep.
certainly, your experience with with working with people with developmental disabilities and physical disabilities. I mean, you can see how your knowledge and how your expertise comes together to really offer, and not just our aging population, but anybody that needs to have access into their home, within their home.
Yep. I mean, I'm fortunate. I work now with DDS, with like their clinics now, and helping DDS keep people at home. There will always be like the aging population, which is the majority of what we do, but then there's the part of the population with physical disabilities. Maybe they were, from birth or from an accident, and we really try to serve both ends of that spectrum.
Well, that's great. Well, this is an absolute pleasure to hear about Next Day Access and to know how, Dave, you are able to help people stay in their homes and to be able to have a good quality of life and to make it safe for them. I think that's what's resounding, is how safe the products are, combined with your knowledge to really have something that that people could really invest in and make it worth their while to get in touch with you, Dave, at Next Day Access. So thank you so much for coming as a guest.
Thank you, Jen. Thanks for having me.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Thanks.